In order to manifest the world of the artist, it is necessary first to recreate the world of the dreamer. This is the world of the eternal child into which you were born in this lifetime. A child does not know the concept of limitation. These are shackles with which his world equips him from the earliest stages of his development. In his dreams, there are no limitations, and his wishes and desires dominate his every moment, calling forth what it is he most wishes to experience. Initially, the desires are rudimentary, and his focused approach to what he wants to experience reinforces the manifestation of those results. As his development progresses, his desires are thwarted and his dreams are dashed by the rules of a reality with which he is force-fed. Soon, those rules are integrated into the formulation of a belief system that cripples his ability to manifest his heart's desire. The energy of focus shifts from what was truly desired to what is perceived to be possible. And even in the early stages of his development, he learns to weave a complex route through the labyrinth of his life in an attempt to salvage some fragment of the original dream. Ultimately, the magic of the dream and the accompanying joy of dreaming it becomes lost in a realm ruled by logic and strategy. And in shifting one's focus from the joy of dreaming the dream to the fear that fuels overcoming suppression of the dream, the child forgets how to dream. These times are about reinstating those skills, for without them, one is destined to recreate the conditions of a world defined by limitation and struggle. Your essential nature is not focused in goal-oriented activity, but it is rooted in your feeling body, your emotions. The drive you experience towards accomplishing a given end is not based upon a need to fulfill a dream, but rather is based upon a need to avoid sliding into the abyss of your fears. Thus, the motive for most of what you have been taught to strive for is fear-based. That type of energy produced a limited level of results in the realms through which you have progressed thus far in your journey. But the thrust of this type of energy would manifest results that you would not find pleasing at the levels you are soon approaching. It will be necessary to learn to distinguish, within the context of your desires, between those that are based in fear and those that stem from the innocence of the joyousness that is your fundamental essence. To recreate the authenticity of your dream, you will wish to begin to scrutinize your true motives for wanting to do what you are telling yourself you want to do. If you wish to build a fabulous house with your own hands, for example, it would be important to know whether that desire is based upon the unbridled pleasure you would derive in the act of that creation, or whether, at some level, you seek to prove something in your own eyes or in the eyes of others. The former desire is born of the dreamer within you. The latter is rooted in an energy of separation. The dreamer derives his limitless joy through the expression of his isness in ways that please and delight him, without regard to the benefit that may be forthcoming in the way of the opinion of others. Even to the extent that self-esteem may be rooted in goal setting within the sanctity of one's own consciousness, one sets up the parameters of duality, of success or failure, with such a mindset. There is no success or failure for the dreamer. There is simply the essence of the dream. There's no challenge inherent in the dream, nor any place for judgment, whether internally or externally focused. The dreamer has no qualifying considerations whatsoever in releasing the pure essence of the dream into the embrace of the ethers that carry them forth into manifestation. Simply that the idea is infinitely pleasing. There's no concept of the attainment of a goal for the dreamer, for that very concept opens the door to considerations of what may or may not be considered possible by a mind structured in linear logic. The dreamer does not care what is or is not possible, for the dream is based in limitlessness. The dream is totally without structure. The dream is found in the depths of the child who still dwells within, regardless of how disenchanted or disillusioned you may consider yourself to be. Regardless of how jaded you are or how broken by life's blows, the dreamer remains untouched. And reconnecting with that rarefied spark of your own divine essence is the key element in restructuring the life you are preparing to transform. Before the artist can begin to emerge from the radiant core of your being and give expression to the unique creation that is to be your life, you must first find and liberate the dreamer from the prison of your linear consciousness. The dreamer to be embraced is not the ego-oriented aspect of self that would have fueled your ambitions, with focus strategies oriented towards achievement. The dreamer is the glowing spark of joyousness that somehow became buried beneath the burden of all you have undertaken to do in this lifetime. The dreamer doesn't dwell in the realm of doing, but thrives in the innocence of simply being. The dreamer is set free when you set aside the ego-focused priorities with which you have tied your own hands and allow your true essence to emerge. Once you've made the connection with the unconditional state of joyousness that radiates within you, you've taken the first step in restructuring the direction of your journey. When you have tasted of this connection with your very own self, you will begin to understand why, at some level, life has declared a timeout. It will begin to make sense to you that were the circumstances of your life allowed to continue on autopilot, you would have not arrived at the destination towards which you are now headed. You begin to recognize, once in this aspect of the process, that your life had delivered you to the vantage point of a plateau. There was an element of clarity from having ascended to that perspective, and with it came the realization that the plateau was going nowhere. It offered the potential of the perpetuation of the essence at that level and a sense of clarity that there was nowhere to go from there, not without first descending from that plateau. As you begin to emerge from the devastation of the structure of your circumstances, it begins to become obvious why that experience was a necessary part of your journey. The fortress you had constructed upon the plateau of your experience had, in fact, become the prison in which your very own sacred essence waited patiently. The fresh innocence of unbridled joy that you harbor within cannot thrive in the structured conditions you created in a world built on the premise of compromise. The sweetness of the vision of the dreamer awaiting your rediscovery is the elusive missing piece in your journey of self-discovery. For without the illumination of the heart of the dreamer, you would continue to travel blindly on the path that compels you to venture forth upon it. Before you can become clear within yourself as to what you want to do with your life, it is essential that you pause in your program of frenzies activities to discover who you really are. Then and only then have you prepared the conditions in which the artist can emerge and give expression to your true essence in a way that will provide a life that is rich and satisfying in all the ways you quietly yearn for. Alternatively, you could continue indefinitely trying this and trying that in an attempt to source from the outside world that elusive something that always seems to be missing. And you could choose to shuffle and reshuffle those cards of possibility indefinitely, trying to come up with a missing piece that will tie it all together. For the missing piece is not to be found in any of the distractions that present themselves in and of themselves. Yet that elusive element, once found within, could well express through any of those infinite possible avenues and provide the perfect medium for the artist to paint with passion your life's work. Before you begin to determine, quote, where to go from here, in terms of what you choose to do, take some time at this particular crossroads in your journey to become reacquainted with yourself. This is an exercise that most will wish to do in solitude. and you can expect to be nudged in a direction that provides for generous periods of alone time. You may find yourself withdrawing from your normal circle of activities and friends and seeking out circumstances that allow you to be in the sanctity of your own consciousness. This is all part and parcel of the process of metamorphosis that holds you in its embrace. For in order to reunite with the dreamer, one must withdraw into the silence of inner solitude. And the elimination of the distractions of daily life during this period is a necessary part of the process. Your agenda will become simplified in and of itself when you reach this stage of your journey, and there will no longer be the predictable excuses that would have allowed you to postpone the self-confrontation that awaits you. The moment for turning inward announces its arrival blatantly, in silence. Once you recognize the signs of its presence and cease filling the empty spaces it creates with busy work and mundane social interaction, you are able to relax into the sanctity of the special time that has been set aside for you alone. Within this haven from the outside world, you will begin to turn back the pages and to retrace your steps through the epic adventure that you are living. And in the high points and low points that will highlight the story, you will be able to recognize the places where the dreamer began to surrender the dream. You will be able to remember the pain of the disappointments and the anguish of the defeats that set the stage for a script founded upon disillusionment and compromise. You will begin to trace the beginnings of the choices exercised in resignation rather than passion. And in weaving together the theme that underlines these episodes, you will experience the clarity that comes of identifying the pattern and an end to the mindset that has driven you to perpetuate it. It will become obvious to you that in following in those footsteps, a vital part of your sacred essence has been lost. And in the absence of that divine spark, the episodes that followed suit somehow felt dry and lifeless, despite all the trappings with which you have adorned them. Now, in the clarity of your retrospective vision, it is time to prepare for the reunion with the dreamer, who, like a child, wandered away when it wasn't fun anymore, while you were so busy doing your life. You didn't even notice he was missing. Not until much later, when it was obvious that something very precious was very lost. Now it is time to simply stop. Stop what you are doing. Stop all the mechanical practices that absorb your every waking moment. Stop your compulsion to pull others into your drama as a way of avoiding focus on the one who stands at center stage. This aspect of the process is not about others. It's not about what you are doing or who you are doing it with. The missing element is not the byproduct of the wrong relationship or the wrong profession or the wrong spiritual path or a technique of spiritual practice that is exercised incorrectly. Those are all potential vehicles through which the passion of the dreamer might be given expression. In the sanctity of the silence you have afforded yourself, you will begin to recognize the instances in your earliest experience when your natural, unrestrained enthusiasm and eager curiosity was allowed to play freely. And in recapturing these precious, simple moments, in the timelessness of memory, you will discover the true path to self-discovery. What you yearn to experience and fault the external trappings of your existence for not providing has been within you all along, waiting patiently.